The important thing to think about when we're communicating about vaccines is that most people who have questions are not anti-vaccine as such. They have questions and they need answers to these questions. In the absence of a good answer to a question that someone has, the vacuum is filled with misinformation. So the key is to target fence sitters or swing voters, if you want to take an electoral analogy. You won't always reach or change the mind of someone who's a really, really strong conviction about vaccines one way or another. But you can reach those who are just hesitant and need a good answer to a question that they have. So on vaccines today, we spend a lot of time online on social media, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, trying to communicate about vaccines and answering people's questions. And we do sometimes come up against anti-vaccine criticism or questions. What's really important is that you're seen to make an honest effort to give an answer, to show that there is an answer. Sometimes the response will come back with a new question, or they won't be satisfied, or they'll keep sharing objections, and maybe they will become aggressive in some cases. When that happens, we try to be as patient as possible and to be seen to make a fair attempt to deal with this with a straight bat. Because the important thing to remember is that your audience is probably not the person who is anti-vaccine and is asking a question. The audience is a third-party viewer who's watching to see how you both deal with this issue, and they will decide who the more credible voice is. Well, vaccine misinformation has been a long-standing problem, but in the COVID-19 era, it has really amplified. However, there is also an unprecedented global effort to push back. So you see national agencies, scientific societies, and also global organizations. The UN has a UN verified campaign that they're running to help people to recognize misinformation. The WHO is training experts in infodemiology, which is a new level of expertise, but helping people to understand this infodemic, this epidemic of misinformation. So they're equipping people with real skills, the general public, helping them to recognize false information, also helping health authorities to follow rumors, to respond when necessary. So I think one of the positive legacies of the COVID-19 pandemic will be this global effort to address vaccine myths, and my hope is that it is sustained long after the pandemic is history. Well, GPs and community pharmacists are so well placed to address some of the questions people have about COVID-19 vaccines. They see older people, they see people who may have other comorbidities. That means they are in risk groups and will be first in line for the COVID-19 vaccine. But GPs and pharmacists themselves, as frontline health workers, are also at the top of the queue. So it's really important that as soon as a GP or pharmacist is happy to have the vaccine and it's available to them, that they take the vaccine. And crucially, they let their patients know. Because the first question a patient will have is, would you do it? Did you do it? And if the answer is yes, I've done it, or yes, my parents have had it, then this is deeply reassuring from a trusted source such as your own healthcare provider.